Hey guys, look at this beautiful green bean casserole. This is the way a green bean casserole needs to be made. Only fresh ingredients, nothing canned, only fresh. Try this out. You're going to be blown away because there's a few tweaks we do to this to make it a very, very special dish. So the humble becomes majestic right here. Well, hello! Welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. On this episode, we're going to be making the green bean casserole. Now, this is a recipe that a lot of us grew up with, and it's a good tasting recipe. Most people really like it. Some people are like, on the fence about it, and others, just a few, don't like it. But I've seen a lot of people really gobble this stuff down. However, it's just sort of plain and ordinary. So I'm going to take this dish, and we're going to take it from down here, and we're going to elevate it way up high. We're going to bring this dish into the modern, okay? And we're going to use all fresh ingredients, and I'm going to show you a couple of new twists on it to bring out some more flavor, and I want to show you how to stack your flavors. So, come a little closer, and let's go over what we have to cook with. Okay, let's go over all of the ingredients that we have here. As we mentioned before, this is green bean casserole. We got 1 pound of fresh green beans here. On our mushrooms, very simple. I've got some baby bellas and some white buttons. You can also use a cremini in the white buttons. It's a wonderful combination either way. These little mushrooms here are going to be 8 ounces of each, so a total of 1 pound of mushrooms. And don't worry if that seems like a lot, it really cooks down quite a bit. So you're going to be surprised at how this really doesn't go very far on mushrooms. Now, 1 leek, you want a medium-sized leek for this. 1 onion, medium-sized onion. And I have here 2 tablespoons of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of butter. This is a 1/4 cup of flour, and this is to make my roux with this butter. Some olive oil. I have here Grana Padano cheese. Now, if you can't find Grana Padano, and believe me, it's wonderful, it's worth trying to find. Grana Padano cheese is real similar to Parmesan, but it's milder, a little nuttier, and not quite as salty. Very good quality cheese. If you can't find that, use some Asiago, Parmesan, or Romano. Just make sure that you grate it fresh up from the block. Now, 1 cup of cream, 1½ cups of chicken broth, and 1 cup of flour back here, and that's going to be for dusting our onions. Now, let's move right into how to cook this dish. We're going to start up by preparing all of our vegetables to be cooked, and then get right into it. Now, the first thing that you should have already done before you even started any of this was to give all of your vegetables a good wash. Generally, I don't mess with the onions too much, and of course the leek, I just peel that outer layer as I'm going to be washing it in a little bit. The mushrooms have already been cleaned by being dusted off. You generally don't wash mushrooms, and the green beans were washed yesterday, and they have had time to dry. Now, they don't have to be dry, but it really seems to be nice when you put it in that hot pan that you're going to be putting it in a bit. Sometimes on your green beans you have a bad end. Just go ahead and snap that off, and what we're looking for are just some good bite-sized pieces of green bean. Alright, so take all of your green beans and do it that exact same way, and if you have a stem on that, go ahead and snap the stem off. So what I'm going to sit here and do is just process all of these out, and this generally doesn't take too long. As you see here, we have all of those green beans snapped, and you don't have to do any fancy cutting, just snap them like I did. These are going to be covered up in sauce. Now, the next thing we're going to be working on are these mushrooms, and as I mentioned to you before, I don't have any plans on using that stem, so you can pitch these out. Now, when slicing your mushrooms, of course, there's different ways you can hold a knife. The chefs will tell you choke up on it. Thumb and forefinger on the sides of that blade, like so. If you're cutting something that requires effort to cut through, that's real important because this blade can roll on you. Alright, now, what I'm trying to do is just to make about 1/8 inch thick slices out of these mushrooms. If you'll notice, I turn it around to cut the last slice. I do that on purpose so my knife won't slide downward and come toward me. Alright, this is very simple. Now, we want to slice all of these, so go ahead and just get busy slicing on yours, and when you're finished, I'll show you what we're going to do with some of them. We're going to dice a few of them up. Now, something I do want to mention before I get much further on these is proper positioning of your hands. When you have a hand back here holding this, you don't want your fingers out like this because you're liable to cut them. What you want is to turn the fingertips underneath so that this part of the knuckle is vertical, just like this, and keep the thumb back and behind so you don't hurt yourself. Now, you notice how I take that knife and then cut through that way, and my hand is protected. Also, my finger up here provides me a nice guide for cutting that mushroom. There we go. Well, there we have it. We have both our finishing caps right here, and that's 4 of each, and the rest of these were all chopped up and ready to be cooked up. Now, what I want to do with some of these, though, because I want a strong release of flavor on this, and I told you how we're going to stack flavors. Okay, this is one of the ways we do it. We pull out a good combination of these mushrooms. I want about half and half on this. There we go. Now, on this, I'm just going to go through the whole stack and chop it, okay? There we are. So it looks like I have about a cup, maybe slightly more, of the chopped mushroom, combination of both. There we have it. Mushroom, 3 ways. Now let's move right on to slicing up that leek. When it comes to handling leeks, this vegetable needs to be handled a little different than other onions. It's still in the same family, but a lot of times when it comes to leeks, you get dirt all up inside of it. It's just the way it grows. And so what I want to do first, before I go cutting rings on this, is just to simply take the tip of my knife, and I'm going to turn this so you can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to plunge it in. Now if you notice the way I'm holding this, I have one finger up here. The finger is actually for a guide, not to push down with. It just guides the knife so I don't go too deep. So I'm going to go right into the middle of this leek, and I'm just going to slide back lengthwise. I'm only looking to cut halfway through it. There we go. Very simple. Now when I open this up, you'll see like this. And down inside of these layers, sometimes you get that dirt, like that right there. And then this here. And that's what we have to open this up and wash it out for. So the next thing is, let's move it right over to the sink, and let me go a little deeper and see there's more dirt inside of it. And that's, like I said, it's normal for a leek. So, to the sink we go. Take your leek and just open it up and let the layers get rinsed out really good all the way around. And do that from both sides. And this part is rather straightforward and simple. All I have to do is A, remove that root, just like that, and then make about ½ wide cross cuts all the way down this leek. Remember that the way I told you to hold your fingers earlier. Curve them under, the thumb behind. Now one way to do this would be just to take a knife and start slicing, and if I was to slice it like this, it's going to roll around on me a lot. Now I can do that because I have good control with a knife, but I want super razor thin cuts, and that right there is a little thicker than I'm looking for. So what I would do is I would normally make a cut down the side here and then work that onion out into thin slices, but they're not going to be the larger rings like I'm looking for. So what I want to do, I want to use another device. If you have one of these, it's great. Otherwise, you're going to have to try to work that out with a knife. That's going to take you a little time. Don't be afraid of it. On a mandolin, always use the handle. Never hold the food with your hand. I'm making 1/16 of an inch slices here. See how I'm doing that? Now these slices are so thin that you can actually see the color of the cutting board straight through them. I mean, they are quite literally paper thin, and that's what I'm looking for. So, there we have it. Look at all that wonderful thin sliced onion. Now this stuff is going to French fry perfectly, and that's what we're looking for, is just that thin, almost too thin to be used kind of onion, so paper thin. Now, we're going to have to take care of those onions. What I have here is a nice deep pan with about 1 inch of frying oil in the bottom of this. I want to use peanut oil. You can use whatever kind of oil you prefer, but it works well just to have a good high temperature oil. So you'll need vegetable oil, peanut oil, canola, or something like that. Now over here, what I have are ingredients for our dusting. Of course, the onions that need to be dusted. I have our flour, that's that 1 cup of flour. I'm going to go ahead and place it in the large bowl. I want to sprinkle the pepper on top of that, and sprinkle the salt on top of that. Okay? I'm just going to take a whisk, quickly combine this. So, from here, this gets kind of simple. While I'm waiting for my oil to heat up, I want to take a small amount of these onions, and just while shaking this flour, drop the onions down in there. And the idea there is to get them so that they're not going to clump. So I'm not going to throw the whole thing down in there and shake it, otherwise I'll just have a clump of onions, and that's going to be kind of weird. So that's about half of that onion. Now all I have to do is, once the oil comes up to 300 degrees, 300 to 325, I can drop these down into it, and I want to deep fry them until they come out a beautiful golden brown. Alright, French fried onions, simple. The oil is just now coming up over 300 degrees, so I'm going to take these onions and sprinkle them down inside. I'll shake off the excess flour. As you see here, the color has just come up to a golden brown. When it's starting to get like this, watch it closely. You don't want it to turn a medium brown at all. Okay? It's very important to pull this out at just the right time, and the changes happen quickly. See, like right there? So this is going to be about another 30 seconds in here. Look at that. Beautiful, isn't it? Alright, we have them. Go and pull those out, and you'll need your strainer spoon, your slotted spoon, to get the remaining. I have a pan here that has been heating over my burner, and my burner's on high at the moment. I'm just getting it hot enough, and it is just now coming up to temperature. So I'm going to put a bit of olive oil in here, and that's going to be about 2 to 3 tablespoons right there. Yeah, about halfway between 2 and 3 tablespoons. Now, we'll start with those mushrooms right in our pan. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get those mushrooms coated. Just go ahead and take care of that. Now that I have heat that's coming up through those slices, I want to pour in that chopped mushroom. A little more oil. This to cook down just a little bit. So we're now only, what, about 5, maybe 6 minutes into cooking this. And look at this. It's already shrunk those mushrooms quite a bit. I'm going to put in my leeks. Get those started. At this point, I'm going to hit it with a little salt. It's about a half a teaspoon. I'm starting to see some softening in my leek now. Some of the white pieces are starting to look a little more translucent. The mushrooms have shrank down to about half of their original size. So when it gets to that point, that's when it's time to go ahead and bring in some butter. Get butter down in this dish, just like so. That 1/4 cup of flour that you had earlier, get that down in here. Now, let's go ahead and get that chicken stock in there. I want to heat that chicken stock till it comes up to a boil. And what's nice is this is deglazing the bottom of that pan. It's picking up all of those flavors. It's only been 1 minute. And look, see how we have a nice thick stock already starting in this? And it's just now starting to come up to a bubble in the center. Now I'm going to turn that heat way down. I'm going to put it on a medium-low. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and put in that cream. Now after we have our cream in this, remember we had our grated cheese. Get some things out of my way. I'm going to slowly start working in that Grana Padano cheese. And that's going to help to further thicken this, but it's going to add a rich component to it that's very special. I'm going to go ahead and get plenty of oil in my pan. Again, about 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil. See there? And I want to take those green beans and put them right into it. Let them cook. What we're doing here, remember I mentioned earlier, stacking flavors. We'll just toss this a little bit to get all of the green beans well coated in oil. If you can't toss, just go ahead and use a spoon to stir it around. Now, as you can see, our green beans have come out much more brown. And that's exactly what we're looking for. I'm going to give these about another 2 minutes. They've been on here for, I would say, around 10 or 12 minutes so far. So just be patient with them. Remember, we're looking for even browning. Now, over on the side here, as I mentioned just a moment ago, this has already been thickened up and it is ready to go. So all I have to do is pour my green beans right down into this and we're ready to go. And brown. Now just take this right down in there. Now, get my spoon, work those green beans into all of this so it's thoroughly mixed. And I'm going to place this as it is, open in my oven at 350 degrees. And that's going to be for 10 minutes. Now we're going to do a 20-minute bake on this. After 10 minutes, we're going to pull it out, put our onion topping on it with the mushrooms. And remember, we saved back some mushrooms for this. Now, back down in our oven, 350 degrees for 10 minutes. Okay, it has now been 10 minutes at 350 degrees. I'll go ahead and pull this out. Starting to firm up a little on top. We got some good evaporation. And what I want to do at this point is to take these onions that we made earlier. I want to gently sprinkle them over the top in an even layer. We'll press that in just slightly. Be careful about your dish. And place our mushrooms in there. Little mushroom caps decorating the top. That's cute. Now back in the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes. And I don't want those onions turning too dark brown. That's our indicator. I'll tell you what, we've taken the humble and elevated it straight to the majestic. The green bean casserole, so humble and simple, and we've turned it into something very special by adding a couple of ingredients like a leek, and doing those French fried onions on top as a custom thing, homemade thing, really sets it off. Extra mushrooms. This really brings the dish up, and I'll tell you what, the flavors you get from it, unbelievable. So let's spoon some of this up. Does look good. mushroom cap on that. Very simple dish, lovely dish. If you want to show up at the party this year with a dish that everybody thought was ordinary, but it's changed, you're gonna blow their minds. It's hot. The green beans are tender and sweet. They're sweet because we sauteed them. That high temperature causes those vegetables to become sweet that way. And it's wonderful. So I'll tell you what, give this one a try. With a little bit of extra work, it's going to be rewarding. You'll see. And I would like to say thank you. Thank you to my subscribers. And thank you to you, my viewers. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. You have a good day. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today, the show where you can get great recipes and the best techniques are taught. Please subscribe to Texas Cooking Today, where you will always find something hot and ready to eat.